If you are 30% body fat or higher and you want to get down to a leaner 15 to 20% body fat, how long might it realistically take? This is a pretty significant transformation. You're going from somebody who technically is obese to somebody who is very fit and is probably in better shape than most people walking around. That being said, this is very doable. I've had many clients over the years successfully achieve progress of this level, just like Victor and Richard and Eddie and Bryant and many others. But this is very important. One of the most common reasons why people quit and get discouraged on their journey and don't make this progress is not because they were doing a whole bunch of things wrong, but simply that they had unrealistic expectations with their weight loss. So in this video, I'm gonna make sure you know exactly what to expect. And we can set those expectations for you and a timeline of what's actually realistic to go from 30% body fat down to 15%. Now, as we dive into this, the first thing that is very clear to me after coaching hundreds, maybe even 1,000 or more men over the last decade, is that most guys aren't aware of how lean they actually need to get in order to see their abs show through, or in order to get to around 15% body fat, or simply just to look the way that they're envisioning in their head. So most people don't think they need to lose as much body fat as they actually do. It's actually very common for a new client to come on board and say, maybe I want to lose 10 or 15 pounds. And then after we lose those 10 or 15 pounds, they decide to keep going with the weight loss and to lose more so that they can look even more defined and cut. And this is true for most guys across the board. Let's take a look at a hypothetical but common situation for an average guy. Let's call him, I don't know, let's call him Smithers. Let's say his name is Smithers. And he's 5'9", about 210 pounds. Let's say he's 45 or 50 years old and about 30% body fat. Now, in order for Smithers to get down to around 15% body fat, he'd have to lose somewhere in the range of 40 pounds. And if he really wants to see his abs, he probably is gonna have to lose more than that. And how long might this take for him? If we aim to lose about 1 pound of body fat per week, on average, which is actually a very excellent rate of fat loss, it legitimately might take him 38 to 42 weeks, or generally the range of 8 to 10 months. Now, of course, everybody is different. Much of this depends on your level of consistency, specifically on the nutrition side of things. I've had a large amount of clients lose 40 pounds or more in less than that time, in 6 months or even less than 6 months. And they were losing on average about 2 pounds per week, and they were hyper consistent with their nutrition. But for some people, it might take a year or even more to lose this amount of weight. And that's okay, because this is a lifelong journey regardless. But just know that timelines like this are very much normal and expected. And the sooner you can get in the mindset that it's okay that it's gonna take this long, and be patient with the idea it's gonna take months or even years and not weeks. Funny enough, usually when you accept that, you start making progress quicker because you're focused on the actual journey and the actions that lead to the results. You're more focused on tracking your food, working out, making these habits a lifestyle rather than obsessing over the scale and what it says every single day. Now, this part is important. Let's go over a common mistake that often holds people up in this process of getting under 20% body fat. And let's go back to Smithers' example here. And maybe you can relate to this, but at the beginning, he's very motivated, right? He's excited to transform his body and to get healthier and to feel better. And he's tracking his food closely. He's moving around, getting a lot of steps in. He's hitting his workouts every week. Maybe he's limiting his alcohol consumption right now, and he's deciding to prepare more of his own meals rather than ordering food out. And it's working, right? It's leading to progress. He's losing weight and he's feeling better and things are going good. But over time, a few things start to creep in. And I'm calling this the urgency fade. And let me explain what I mean by that. Maybe after gaining some traction, maybe he's losing 15 or 20 pounds. He's fitting better in his clothes already. There's some improvements happening. Naturally, it becomes less urgent that he needs to lose more weight. Maybe he's getting some compliments. He's better off than he was before, where he was super unhappy and just hated the way he looks, and maybe his gut is hanging out over his pants. So he's better off, and it becomes less urgent that he loses even more weight. So slowly, over time, he stops using his food scale to weigh out the foods that he's been eating. And maybe little by little, he stops tracking his food after like 5 p.m. He tracks during the day, and then he just forgets to track his macros for dinner and any later snacks at night. And maybe he starts to go the more convenient route. He starts ordering food out like 3 or 4 times a week. And he's allowing for some more alcohol now back into his weekly routine as well. And because he starts to incorporate these things gradually, and he is gradually becoming more flexible, the truth is he doesn't even realize that he's doing these things. He doesn't think it's a big deal, and he doesn't even know he's doing anything different than what he did at the beginning, which led to the results. But the truth is that he's not being as consistent with tracking his food. And he is starting to cut some corners that he doesn't realize are significant enough to impact his results. And before he knows it, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months have gone by without any additional progress. And maybe he's even gained a little bit of that weight back. So what do you do in this situation? If it's happening to you in real time, and maybe this has happened to you, it feels like you've just hit a plateau. It feels like I'm doing all the same things, it just stopped working. But you don't have a second set of eyes overlooking everything you're doing and everything you're eating and helping to locate things that maybe have slipped through the cracks. And that's the major benefit of working with a coach, or at least the style of coaching that I do, is that I can locate these missteps and point them out to you and have you refocus on the basics that will actually help you move the needle with your results again. But that is the solution right there. If you're in a phase where you still want to see more progress, you still want to lose more body fat, you want to be as diligent with your habits as possible. You want to make sure to use a food scale for almost everything that you're eating. I recently challenged 3 separate clients to whip out the food scale again and start weighing out their foods again because they had gotten away from it for a while. And after a few months without using it, they started to lose weight again, despite aiming for the same macros and calories. You're also gonna wanna go back to preparing most of your own meals and not eating out 3 or 4 or 5 times a week. You're gonna wanna stop having alcohol multiple times a week and get back to planning your meals the night before so you don't have to wing it the day of. All these things are very simple and not complex, but they are the difference between losing body fat consistently and not. Now, a second very common mistake is eating in too aggressively low of a deficit. So after just a couple weeks, or maybe you can last a month or two eating a very low amount of food, you just become absolutely starving and you just literally cannot physically stick to those 1,200 or 1,400 calories anymore. So this is something that will totally mess up your timeline. You're not gonna be able to starve yourself like this for 6 months or 8 months or 10 months. So this is what happens. You stick to it for a month or a couple weeks, and then you binge because you're absolutely starving, and that sets you back. And then you go back to starving yourself on 1,200 calories again for 3 weeks, and then you binge again. So this is what they call yo-yo dieting. And the truth is, with this approach, you just can't be consistent enough for a couple months in a row, never mind 6 or 8 months. So here's the solution to this mistake. The first thing is simply don't eat in this aggressively low of a calorie deficit. Basically, don't starve yourself. I usually like to set my clients in a calorie deficit of 500 calories below their maintenance, which typically doesn't feel like you're starving, especially if you're eating pretty decent foods like fruits and vegetables and lean protein sources. And theoretically, it should lead to losing about 1 pound of actual body fat per week. And for context, there's pretty much no adult males who are above, let's say 5'5", who are working out, who should be eating under 1,500 calories, like for any reason. So if that's you, this is the main problem you want to address. And of course, like if you're 5'3" and you're on the smaller side and you get 2,000 steps a day, you're very inactive, like, all right, you could make the argument that person should be eating 1,300 or whatever it is, but you get my point. But in addition to just setting your calories appropriately, there's also nothing wrong with just taking a diet break. If we're talking about a weight loss phase that might take 6 to 12 months, you could totally throw in a 1-month maintenance phase or a diet break in there at some point if you're getting hungrier than you'd like to be, where you would essentially just raise your calories to maintenance calories for that month. And that way you don't gain weight back during that time, but you're also able to eat more food in a calculated way and not have to be as restrictive. Then when you're feeling better and you're ready and in the mindset of wanting to lose more weight again, you go back into your deficit and you continue the journey on the weight loss. Speaking of continuing on your journey, I'm here to help you along the way, even if you aren't a client of mine. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. And if you do want to become a client of mine, the link is in the description below where you can see if it's a good fit to work together. And if you liked this video or found it helpful, I think you'll find this next one valuable as well. So I'll leave it up here and I'll catch you over on that video.